Hi guys, are you ready to hear the story of the biggest loser to ever walk on planet Earth? No, I'm not trying to attract your attention to me as the newly elected king of drama. I'm just reflecting a little. That's what I think. My name's Cliff, I'm 19 years old, and for a short time, I managed to get into a serious argument with two girls I actually liked, and then also unintentionally set up my father at his work. When I say it out loud, this sounds really pathetic. But let's start the story from the very beginning. From the very, very beginning. That is from my childhood. When I was 10 years old, my dad took me along a picnic arranged by one of his close friends. I was very happy to be able to spend some extra time on the weekend with my father, who was otherwise forever busy. So I was really enthusiastic and didn't get what the trick was. And there was a trick. It even had a name. Bea Resnick. Bea was the daughter of Mr. Resnick, my father's friend who invited him on the picnic. When my father introduced Mr. Resnick, he also added that he was not just a friend, but also his colleague. This information did not matter at all at the time, but it will become important later. I wasn't a stupid child, so I guessed that I was taken along because somebody was needed to entertain Mr. Resnick's daughter. Moreover, my father openly hinted to me that it would be very nice if Bea and I became friends. But I was offended and, therefore, refused to play with Bea, who was 2 years younger than me. But my dad didn't give up. This family picnic was followed by family dinners, mutual visits to shopping malls, movies, and whatever else. Basically, anything that our parents could think of. In general, whether I wanted it or not, I had to be friends with Bea. But it wasn't that bad. Bea turned out to be a smart girl, who was very interesting to be with. So even if we didn't become really close friends, we acted like friends, at least until we became teenagers. But then my father came up with a new idea. He decided that I should invite Bea on a date, and he openly asked me to do it. The reason behind this was complicated, but also understandable. Over the past few years, Mr. Resnick had overtaken my father in an endless race up the career ladder and become his immediate superior. They remained friends, but this was not enough for my father. He needed some kind of special relationship with Mr. Resnick. Then he decided that if his son went out with Mr. Resnick's daughter, that would be the best scenario. Honestly, I was not at all excited about this idea, but nevertheless decided to help my father. In addition, I didn't think that Bea was interested in me, so I assumed that my first romantic meeting with her would be the last. I didn't try to sabotage our date on purpose. No. But when I tried to take Bea for a romantic evening, out in the company of a gentleman, meaning me, everything turned out to be awkward. I accidentally spilled a milkshake on Bea's jeans and was very, very surprised when she was not at all angry with me for that. The fact that Bea was ready to forgive me was just the tip of the iceberg. At the end, I realized that our fake date was a really romantic date for Bea. She all of a sudden admitted that she'd been secretly in love with me for many years. I literally froze in surprise, and even almost missed the moment when Bea kissed me on the lips. Of course, after that I was forced to develop and continue my relationship with her. Otherwise, who knew that this kind of disaster could happen? Bea was a smart and kind girl, but pretty impressionable, and a little bit prone to exaggerated emotions. But the worst part was that I didn't really find Bea attractive. She was attractive in her own way, but still belonged to the grey, mousy type, whereas I was always attracted to more spectacular girls. But I had nothing to do. Now I had to act like I had feelings for Bea. For 2 years, everybody who was around us was pretty sure that we were not just a couple, but almost engaged. That was how serious our relationship looked. Even when I graduated from school and went to another town to go to the college, the situation didn't change. I had to continue my relationship with Bea from a distance. I was afraid that she'd miss me too much, and that she would feel lonely and annoy me with her calls. So I asked my friend Wes to keep an eye on Bea and to look after her in case she needed anything. Wes was a good guy, but not very smart, and he came from a poor family. He had no chance of getting a scholarship, nor would he ever have had the opportunity to pay for college, so he stayed in our hometown and got a job as a loader in a warehouse for a nearby supermarket. Some time passed, and suddenly, I met a girl named Heather. Heather went to the same college as I did, and yes, she looked like exactly the type of girl that I liked. One day, I got a chance to get to know her better, and couldn't blow it. It turned out that we had a lot in common. We shared many similar interests, and, in general, we both quickly felt that there was some kind of chemistry between us. I think I fell in love with Heather. For real. Heather didn't have a boyfriend, and, of course, I didn't tell her a word about Bea. Soon afterward, we started dating. So, I wanted to be with Heather, and didn't want to be with Bea. At the same time, I had to be very careful so that my father and Mr. Resnick would still be able to maintain their special relationship. A difficult task, don't you agree? As I saw it, the only possible way out of this situation would be to make Bea leave me alone. I decided to convince Wes to find out what Bea really thought of me. We rarely saw each other during the past 2 years, so Bea herself could have cooled off to me. I called Wes and clearly gave him his task. Wes responded in a strange way. He sounded embarrassed, he hesitated, and he was apparently confused, but promised to find out everything. But I didn't have time to get any information from Wes, because soon Bea came to see me, unexpectedly, and practically without any warning. My college was far from our hometown, so it was pretty strange. Fortunately, Bea and I didn't meet on campus, so I wasn't afraid of her meeting Heather. But I soon realized that I shouldn't have to worry about this, because Bea came to dump me. She informed me, in a very calm voice with self-confidence, that now she was dating Wes, and then she added, "These things just happen." To my great surprise, it suddenly touched me very deeply. Yes, yesterday I wanted Bea to leave me, but now that she'd done it all of a sudden, and it wasn't my decision, was I hurt? This time, Bea looked different somehow, as if she, secretly from me, turned into an adult and a self-confident girl, which, in fact, I liked. Besides, I couldn't believe that Bea preferred Wes over me. I always considered Wes a loser, and didn't really take him seriously as my friend, but Bea didn't know that. How could she switch to my friend behind my back? And to Wes, to this loser? I was absolutely sure that I was better than him in every aspect. So in less than a few weeks, I had to admit to myself, I probably still loved Bea. But I also had no doubt about my feelings for Heather. It turned out that I really felt happy when I had 2 girls, and I had to do something about it. Then everything developed quite rapidly. I asked Bea to come to my campus again, and she agreed. But only in order to get a closer look at the campus, because soon she had to decide on a college for herself. After a tour of the campus, I took Bea to a nearby cafe. Bea, who unexpectedly became inaccessible to me, was so close that it made my blood boil. After all, I'd gotten so used to seeing this girl next to me for most of my life. I confessed to Bea that I wanted her back. Bea just calmly and negatively shook her head. In response, I told her that she'd just cooled off towards me, and all I needed to do was to remind her of her old feelings. I hugged Bea and kissed her passionately. She didn't break free, so I already felt the taste of victory. And all of a sudden, I heard Heather's furious voice. I was so absorbed in my thoughts about Bea that I didn't think at all that Heather might see me with her. And so, at the moment of my kiss with her, Heather entered the cafe with her friends and found me at the scene of the crime. I don't think I need to go into detail about the subsequent, awkward scene between Bea, Heather, and I. Suffice to say that I have never felt so humiliated. In an incredible way, Bea and Heather immediately reached a mutual understanding and directed their anger not at each other, but towards me. Of course, each of them was right in her own way, but still it was painful. Heather yelled at me, Bea screamed at me, and when they realized that I was seeing both of them at the same time, Bea poured her coffee with cream over my head. Fortunately, it had had time to cool down while the girls were yelling. But this is not the end. When Bea returned to her hometown, she complained to Mr. Resnick about everything that happened to her. He, of course, felt that my relationship with Bea was staged from the very beginning for the sake of my father's career. Mr. Resnick had a serious argument with my father, and after that, the relationship was narrowed down to business matters only. Now, my father should have been seriously worried that his climb up the career ladder would come to an end. I learned all of this from Bea's message, which she sent to me the day before, poorly hiding her triumph behind a few polite words, as well as the fact that she was not going to draw the line there and would go as far as convincing her father to fire my dad. In conclusion, I would like to say only one thing. Do you remember that I considered Wes a loser? Now you see who the real loser is here. So, be kinder, more fair, and sincere to people, and don't repeat my mistakes. And also...
Hi, my name is Michelle, and this story literally happened yesterday. I mean, there's so much to tell about last night that I'm not really sure where to start. In short, I got betrayed by my best friend, and I almost died. And both happened within 15 minutes. It all started as a truth or dare game. I have a group of friends I've known since we were all like 5 years old. There are 6 of us, all girls, and we are 14 now. Well, a couple of us have already turned 15. I won't bother you with names, since I would have to change them anyway to tell this story, but the important thing is that among all of them, I have a best friend. Her name is Lana. Or should I say I had a best friend. Anyway, Lana and I live close to each other, so we've always seen each other more often. And we grew really close. So basically, she knew a lot about me, and I knew a lot about her. Or did I? You've also got to keep in mind that I am a really, really private person, and I hate telling people personal things, so Lana is an exception. There are a lot of things about me that she doesn't know either. Never mind all that. Let's stick to the story. Last night, we had planned to have a sleepover at Lana's. Her parents were away on vacation, and they had no problem leaving the whole house at Lana's disposal. She had never caused them any trouble on any of their previous trips, but I can only imagine the looks on their faces when they come back this time and hear what happened. So, 5 of us came over to Lana's for a sleepover, because one of our friends, let's call her Judy, got sick. That was not the first time we spent the night at Lana's. I would come and hang out with her often, since I only lived 2 houses away. Last night we started out watching a movie. Then we cooked dinner together. 2 of our friends love cooking. After that, we decided we wanted to play something. And someone suggested Truth or Dare, a classic sleepover game. As a very private person, I hate this game a lot, because I have to pick Dare every time. The idea of telling any secret, even to a group of close friends, is just terrifying. It was okay in the beginning. Harmless questions, easy tasks, like singing a stupid song or calling Judy to convince her Ed Sheeran was here with us doing a fan interaction project. I mean, I know it's dumb, but I managed to sound dead serious, and Judy almost believed me. The girls spoiled everything when they started laughing. They just could not keep it in anymore. One more thing before we get to the main part. Lana and I have a classmate named Josh. Josh Hurley. That's what I'll call him here. And, thank God this is anonymous, I really, really like him. He's amazing, and he also lives right across the street from Lana's. We talk at school every once in a while, but it never goes further than that. I believe it could, but he does not know about my feelings. No one does, except for Lana. So we're playing and it's my turn again, and I pick Dare. The girls can't come up with a task for me right away, and after a few minutes, Lana says she has a great idea. She says I have to get on the roof of her house and shout, "I love you, Josh Hurley," 3 times as loud as I can. I mean, if this is not betrayal, then what is? I still can't believe she said it. She knew I liked Josh, and she knew there was a big chance he'd hear it, and how embarrassed I would be. Now I deeply regret I didn't just flat out refuse and go home. Who cares what they would think if I did? But at that moment, I thought, the game is a game, and I just had to get it over with. I got on the roof through the bedroom window, and I found a spot that I thought was safe. It was almost midnight, so it was really dark. The girls were standing at the window voice was, "I love you, Josh Hurley." I shouted it once, dying of embarrassment. Then a second time. All of the lights in Josh's house were off, so I was praying nobody was home, because if they were, the whole family would be woken up by my screams. The girls were laughing and cheering. I really wanted this to be over, so I took a deep breath and shouted it out for the third time. As I was shouting, I started to slip down the roof. It was terrifying. I tried to brake with my hands, but it didn't work until I got to the very edge. That was where I stopped. But now I could not move, otherwise I might have fallen down at any second. And Lana's is a 3-story house. I turned my head carefully to look at the girls, and they were no less frightened than I was. Once I realised that they had no idea what to do, I shouted at them to run and get my parents. It was all over relatively soon, since my parents were there in 2 minutes, also terrified, and then the fire department came with a ladder. But you can imagine the stress I had already gone through. My parents were not happy at all, especially when they found out that it all happened as part of a game. But there was also one good thing. Josh was away at the movies with his family, so he heard none of it. That was a total relief. I tried to talk to Lana about the whole thing, but she makes it sound like what happened was totally fine, and she did nothing wrong. Never again will I do something just because someone says I have to.